If you're a longtime listener or viewer, first of all, thank you. But secondly, you know that I'm a big Heisman Trophy guy. I think it's the most prestigious individual award in sports. I think it's insanely difficult to win for a variety of reasons. And at other times, it's insanely easy to win. You are the quarterback of the best team in the country, and they just give you the damn thing. And it feels like we might be past those days, at least a little bit. And I think that that's a good thing. I think that the spirit of the award is to give it to the most outstanding player in college football, not the best quarterback for the best team in the country. And that's a distinction that I think is important and matters. With that being said, there are still some hurdles some people have to climb to win that award. And I think that it's interesting that when you look through the process of what it takes to win the Heisman Trophy, I think it is a combination of stats and story. Who's got the best story in college football will vault you into a really good placement, a really good potential to win that Heisman Trophy, but then you also have to back it up with stats. If you have great stats, do you have a great story? Can we find a great story as part of the reason for why you should or should not win the Heisman Trophy? And if you have a good combination of both, well, hell, you're basically destined for it. Coupled that with the quote-unquote Heisman moment. You know what I'm talking about. The Eric Crouch touchdown catch on the reverse. The Johnny Manziel almost fumbles the snap but still throws a touchdown to a wide-open Ryan Swope. Those Heisman moments. Now, not every Heisman winner has a Heisman moment. But if you can combine all of those three, you are damn near guaranteed to win the Heisman Trophy. And I know that it's ridiculous and stupid to be talking about the Heisman Trophy on the final day of September. The September Heisman is a real thing. Like Geno Smith probably should have a Heisman Trophy from Aldi in his living room on his mantle as the September Heisman winner. But it is a real thing. And I think it's an interesting thing to talk about at this stage of the season. Not for the reason of who is on the list of Heisman Trophy contenders, hopefuls, etc., but perhaps more towards who isn't on that list right now that should be. And there was a list released by On3 of their top 10 Heisman poll vote getters right now. And we'll go through them. It's Dante Moore, the Oregon quarterback at number 1. John Mateer, Oklahoma quarterback 2. Diego Pavia, Vanderbilt quarterback number 3. Trinidad Chambliss at Ole Miss, the quarterback number 4. Ty Simpson, Alabama, number 5. Ahmad Hardy, the running back from Missouri at number 6. And then Ruben Bain, Carson Beck, Marcel Reed, Fernando Mendoza from Missouri, from the U at Texas A&M and Indiana are the final 4 on that list. And I think that there are a few glaring omissions. And part of that is what has transpired thus far in the college football season. Because I am here to tell you, and this is partly my bias because I predicted this player to win the Heisman Trophy coming into the season. I think not having Jeremiah Love on that list of potential Heisman Trophy candidates, finalists, winners feels short-sighted. Jeremiah Love had 4 touchdowns on Saturday against Arkansas. I believe became the first ever Fighting Irish player to have 2 rushing, 2 receiving touchdowns in the same game. Notre Dame has a bit of football history, if you have not heard. That's impressive. I think that the reason that Notre Dame has been even remotely competent offensively is because Jeremiah Love has played really well. I think CJ Carr is going to be good eventually. I don't think that he's there right now. Thus, Jeremiah Love carrying that bitch, and I think deserves to be in the top 10. There are also potentially 2 others that I think are interesting to consider. And one is Jeremiah Smith, the Ohio State wide receiver. And Jeremiah Smith is both a blessing and his, let me rephrase that. He is not a blessing and a curse. His production or lack thereof is both a blessing and a curse. He's playing with a freshman quarterback who I don't believe it's easy to say that Ohio State has taken the reins off of by any stretch of the imagination. So he has been somewhat hurt by that, coupled with defenses are solely selling out to stop Jeremiah Smith. You go back and watch the Washington game from this past weekend. I can't tell you how many times it was just flat out Washington was going to double him. And if you want to throw it, best of luck to you. But through 4 games, he's got 28 catches, almost 400 yards, and 4 touchdowns, basically 14 yards per reception. And to some people, that would be, hey, that ain't all that great, which I wholly understand. But when you throw in all of those factors of playing with a young quarterback who, you know, I this might be a hot take. I think Ohio State is going to struggle to win Heisman trophies under Ryan Day because of the philosophy on how they play. If you go back in the kind of like annals of Ohio State history, right, where you have like Jim Tressel, who played Tressel ball, where the punt is one of the most important plays in the game. And he had a Heisman Trophy winner, which feels wild if you just learned like the basics of what Jim Tressel believed in, the idea that he would have a Heisman Trophy winner who at the time was the widest margin of victory for a Heisman Trophy. That's wild. So you had like these, we don't care if we win 14-7 against an 0-11 team. What matters is you won. And then you had Urban Meyer come in who was like, I'm going to rip the jugular out of my opponent in the first half, and then we're just going to run the ball up the gut over and over and over again in the second half. But who gives a damn, because we won 70-14. And Ryan Day is kind of in the middle of those two, where they very rarely, Ohio State very rarely, just jumps on somebody and beats the bejesus out of them to where it's not a game in the second half or in the second quarter at times. It is, they play with their food a little bit, and he's very much in the same kind of mold of Jim Tressel as we are going to do what it takes to win the game. In today's day and age of college football, it would probably behoove Ohio State to play more like the Urban Meyer, I'm going to kill you in the first quarter. You're going to accept it, and that's it. And if you hang around, oh, crap, we got a battle on our hands. Ohio State is now, under Ryan Day, is kind of splitting that difference where we're fine with the battle in the first half because we feel confident that we're going to win that second half battle as well. We feel like we are going to win no matter what. Whether it is we kicked your ass in the first half or we beat you with precision in the second half, it does not matter. We are going to win, but we're only going to do whatever it takes to win, and that's all that matters. I've mentioned before, I'm a big racing fan. Like, I like Formula One, I like IndyCar, I like NASCAR, etc. In Formula One, they will tell you that all things considered, the sport is who can go the fastest, the slowest. Because you don't want to be the fastest and tear up your equipment. You want to take care of your equipment while also being the fastest. And I think that's somewhat what Ohio State is under Ryan Day, is we don't want to just, and Urban Meyer, to his credit and detriment, was I'm going to beat your ass as fast as I can. And if I wear myself out doing it, oh well, where it's a more kind of slow and steady pace for Ohio State, which I don't think helps them in the individual award category. And I understand the argument that who gives a damn about individual award arguments when all you care about is, did we win the national championship? Did we beat Michigan? And did we win the Big Ten in that order? And not always in that order. I think that is completely for another time and place, etc. But winning the Heisman Trophy still does matter. Being able to use that as a recruiting tool is a great thing. People know and recognize that stiff arm trophy, who have probably never seen a college football game, who might not even understand English. Knowing what that stiff arm trophy means matters. And so I think Jeremiah Smith is somewhat in that boat of like, man, if you would just unleash me, if it was just, you know what, screw it. We're going to throw it as far as we can. And I like the chances that number 4 is going to climb the ladder and get it. I understand that, but there's got to be more to it than that. And everything that Ohio State does with a purpose is not set up to let Jeremiah Smith or Julian Sand, for that matter, who's completing like 80% of his passes and leads the number 1 team in the country, which we talked about earlier, would lead you to believe that he would be in this discussion because he's the quarterback of the number 1 team in the country. But the way Ohio State plays doesn't really set itself up for Heisman Trophy consideration / contention. And I understand the argument that Justin Fields was a Heisman Trophy finalist. Yes, because Justin Fields was a really, really, really good college football player. Dwayne Haskins, as Ryan Day was the offensive coordinator at the time, was a Heisman Trophy finalist. I think they're going to continue to be Heisman Trophy finalists because you're generally not in the top 5 without good quarterback play and also great coaching. But is it going to be enough to get over the hump to win that trophy? I don't know. I would think it lends itself to no. Probably not. But I think Jeremiah Love and Jeremiah Smith both deserve on this list of, hey, if you're going through these 10 folks that you think have the best chance to win the Heisman Trophy right now, I think it's hard to argue that those 2 guys don't deserve at least honorable mention on that list. Because when it's all said and done, and I know that that's projection, I know it's forecasting, speculating, etc. On the last day of November, rather than the last day of September, I think it's much more likely that people like Jeremiah Smith and Jeremiah Love are in the conversation than Diego Pavia and I think he's been great, Ahmad Hardy. I just think that I hate the idea that there's a preconceived notion about who's going to be in New York at the end of the season, but it feels much more likely to me that Jeremiah Smith and Jeremiah Love are there rather than the Missouri running back or the Vanderbilt quarterback or Carson Beck. That's just how I see it. I want to know your thoughts. Who do you think is missing from that list? Who has had a Heisman Trophy worthy first month of the season that isn't getting enough pub? I would love to hear your thoughts and hear more about those players. Drop them in the comments below. That'll do it for today's episode of the Daily Huddle. I appreciate you making us a part of your day, however it is, wherever it is you're doing so. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're getting all the great college football content we're pumping out. If you are listening on the podcast feed, drop a 5-star review. It goes a long way in helping out the channel. I'll see you tomorrow for another episode of the Daily Huddle.